Welcome, I'm Tommy, and this is a review of my Marlin lever-action 30-30 Winchester rifle. It's considered a carbine rifle because of shortness of the barrel, easy mobility, easy to move around. They call it a small bore sporting rifle. It was designed by Winchester, 1800s, 1893 or whatever. And there's 6 models. This one happens to be the 336 CG, and it came from my dad's gun shop some 27 years ago, and it's been stored for quite some time, so this one's in pretty good shape. This one was actually made in 1988 by the Marlin company. I think now there was so much changes going on out there, I believe Remington may have taken over Marlin. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with all that. And they stopped making this rifle, I think, in 2010, this particular model. They made a lot of different models. One was the Millennium Edition in 2000 that had a lot of nice engraving and inlays in the wood and all that. And it was a little bit more expensive. There's all kinds of forums out there on the internet, so you can read about this rifle. Of course, the first thing, the most important thing is the safety. So just to verify, there are no rounds in the chamber. There's nothing in there, so we want to make sure that that's there. This rifle has actually some extra very good safety features on it. We'll get into that. The POV for this rifle, POV I call the philosophy of use. What would you use this weapon for? And it's primarily for deer hunters use it a lot, small to medium-sized game. Actually, I'm not a hunter, I'm just a target shooter, but I really enjoy firing this weapon. But it'll pretty much take down anything in North America, I don't know, deer, caribou, boar. I think the people out in the Everglades use it a little bit as well. But it's a very quality rifle. It's very rugged, solid steel. It just feels good to shoot it. It has a little bit of a kick to it. Not too bad though. It weighs about 7 pounds when fully loaded, but it's easy to clean, and it's just all around generally a good weapon. Like I say, it's lightweight, only about 7 pounds. It has a tubular magazine to it, as opposed to magazine fed or clip fed for some of the more popular weapons today. The loading port on this one is not as easy as I would like for it to be, and I attribute to that because it hasn't been fired as much, hasn't been used as much. I've seen others that are a little more finger friendly. It gets hard on your fingers after a while. It's an all-around cowboy, utility, wild, wild west kind of gun, and like I say, it has a very smooth action to it. It's very nice piece of machinery is what it is. The ejection on this thing is to the side. The original ones, I think they made ejected to the top. Of course, you couldn't do the scope to it with it very well. So this one does the side eject, and it will allow for the scope, as well as the iron sights. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but the way it's laid out, you can do iron sights and or scope with it. I had thought about the red dot as well, but it might be a little overkill. I don't know. I'm looking into it. I may do something with that as well. This scope actually it's an old scope. It's Weaver mounts, but it's a Simmons scope, 3x 9x32, which is a pretty decent scope for what it is. My brother-in-law loaded these up for us, a couple 22s. He put the scopes and mounted it for us, got us a nice strap for them as well. I think I got one of the best straps that came out of there. But the scope is it's pretty good. We zeroed it in. Me and my buddy at work took it out to the range, and it took 7 rounds, and we zeroed it in exactly, perfectly. So this scope is right on. So I'm really pleased with that. Again, I'm big on the safety feature. I don't go to the woods, I don't hunt or anything, but I am very safe at the range. And the good thing about this weapon is it has some extra safety features. It actually has 3 safe features on it. The first one, of course, being the half cock. That has has to be pulled back a little bit there, but from what I hear and read, there's some issues with that. It sometimes pops forward on you, so you may want to be careful with that. And then of course the other one you have is the regular push button, safe, unsafe kind of thing. That's pretty much standard on those. And then with this weapon also, there's something called a lever pin under here. I don't know if you can see that or not, a little pin that you have to have the pin completely depressed. You can't really see it good with this quality, but there's a pin there that has to be completely depressed when you, if you want to fire it. So it's got some good safety features in there. The ammo, like I say, different types of ammo people use. The grain is the compression, anywhere from 110 to 170 grain. You know, I use kind of middle of the road. I've experimented with all of them. The 150 grains and even the 130 is a little bit less kick. Not quite so, because this thing does have a little bit of pop to it. It'll pop your shoulder a little bit. But 150 is pretty decent. This is has a rainbow trajectory to it when you fire it, so there will be some drop. They say the 170 grain does not have any drop to it at 200 yards, but you know, my targets are 100 feet at the most. I don't know, most people shoot game between 25 and less than 200 yards anyway, I would think. So, you know, you can experiment with different types out there. Manufacturer Hornady, I think, has a new lever gun ammo technology. They're calling it Leverlution rubber tip rounds. And they have a little tip on the end of them here, which certainly, for my benefit, is safer loading, because sometimes, you know, people have the tendency to try to push the other shell with the other shell, and that's not a good idea. So you have to be very careful when loading this this firearm. But their Leverlution is the rubber tip. It's easier, safe to load. Supposedly the casings are made up of a better composite material. The pure copper, the brass, sometimes, you know, fouls the bore a whole lot more. So, you know, I don't know. I have to clean them a lot. I spend more time cleaning these things actually than I do using them. So it's less fouling of it out there. But they're a little bit more expensive. I haven't bought any yet. I'm thinking about trying them to see how they work. So there's something called, again, about the ammunition, the cartridges. There's something called the CXP rating system out there, and it's all about matching the cartridge to the rifle, or to the weapon, to the firearm, and also to the game that you're going to be, you know, hunting for. So again, I don't use game, but I did read something about the CXP, and they divide game animals into 4 categories. I don't know, small, medium, bigger, medium, and then large, whatever they are. But this one actually, this 30-30 caliber actually falls into the CXP2 rating for a medium-sized game. And again, primary is a deer rifle, or you know, you could shoot antelope, caribou, boar, black bear, you know, anything pretty much in North America. I think. Again, I don't shoot animals, but this one holds 7 rounds. Again, it's tubular loading on the side through the loading port. It'll hold 6, and then you, of course, chamber the 7th one. And then you've got to be very careful, though, again with the safety. To put the 7th one in, you have to chamber the 6th one. But the thing is, it leaves the hammer cocked, so before you try to insert the 7th one, it's very important that you take advantage of the safety functionality on this weapon, and then you can go ahead and load the 7th one in there. So, because sometimes you may bump it or accidentally hit it or whatever, so you know, you want to be careful about that. Again, it's a Wild Wild West CG model. It's used quite a bit, you know, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it's still used today, but the cowboys used it a lot. There's another one out there that has the big loop lever action on it, which I kind of like that. It's the same sort of lever action, but it's just a much bigger loop. This piece here is a bigger loop. You know, your hand fits in it better. My hands are a little bit chunky for this. But you could wear your gloves and stuff with it, and it makes room for it out there. Again, this is a 25-year-old weapon, so you know it's in really good condition, and I'm going to do my best to keep it that way. They say they have a little chart out there. Marlin does, or Remington, whoever has that now. It tells you how to help identify, you know, the year it was made and all that. But anything after 1972, they came up with a formula that says, you know, subtract the serial number. And here's the serial number located here on the above the stock butt plate. You subtract that serial number from 100, and that'll tell you the year that it was manufactured. So I've got one here that starts at 120-11039, and it's from 2012. It's a 26-year-old gun. So anything after 1972, you subtract that serial number if you want to find out the age of your weapon out there. So once again, I would recommend this weapon to anybody, again, for the deer hunters or just the novice wants to get out there and rifle hunt, or target shoot, I mean, or any kind of hunting that you want to do with it. It's just a fun, all-around, good rifle. So, I guess that pretty much concludes this review of the Marlin 3030 Winchester lever action. So stay tuned to my next review. I'm hoping it's going to be my new weapon, which I'm thinking about is the tactical AR-15 rifle. Those are excellent rifles. They're fun to shoot, a little bit more expensive, but I've got my eye on one, so we'll see how that goes. But until then, be safe, be very careful, always assume that every gun is loaded. And until next time, happy gunning and stay safe.